Welcome to Jump Shots from the Goal Line. I am your host, Jonathan Dugan, joined as always by my wonderful co-host, John Henningsen. John, it was a much more eventful weekend in sports than last weekend. How was your weekend, man? Did you watch some of the stuff going on?
Yeah, it was a good weekend. Per usual, I'm playing a little bit of my own golf, so got out there and got into my own game a little bit. I think we found some things that are looking a little better, so
Uh-oh.
a little less depressed about it than we. But I'm not. We shouldn't talk about it here because
No, you shouldn't
it'll
because
just
then I'll
just
run my
jinx it.
mouth.
It'll
I'll
just
run my
jinx in
mouth in
it.
front of
It'll
company
ruin
and
it.
yeah.
You'll take it right to the bank, even though you hadn't seen me swing in 6 months. You're like, cash it, homie.
Yeah.
He said one good thing one time. Yeah, but it was a good, yeah, it was a good sports weekend. I caught a little bit here and there. I'm not going to say I was like locked in. I just think in the summer it's hard to be locked into sports all the
Yeah.
time. Although we definitely have a good weekend coming up, um, but some really good things that we could just sort of like jump into, And it's nice to like jump into Wimbledon. Like I'm not going to pretend and tell you I watched every tennis match, but it's fun to jump into a final that's really matters and watch that play out. Or, we got the
Yeah.
celebrity golf type stuff going on. So there was plenty of good sports this weekend. So big uptick, big improvement from last week.
Yeah, totally. We actually have stuff to talk about today. So that's cool. I'm gonna turn my gain down so the audience doesn't get like, why does this guy sound echoey? But myself, I went down to Yuma. It was my mom's birthday this week, so we decided to go take a little quick day trip down there, hang out with the parentals, which is always fun, to be honest with you. Watching sports with my dad is always like, we'll get into it, but hilarious. And then I was cooking my mom a birthday dinner. I was chefing it up. I was doing really well. I was making some T-bones, some ahi ahi, some mahi. I was killing the game. My mom put together some roasted vegetables, put them in a pan. Forgot to tell me that she put the cover of said pan, which is plastic, underneath. Did not feel it. Threw it in the oven, and yeah, we melted plastic in the oven. The fish was cooking on a cedar plank, which I don't know if you ever cooked on a cedar plank, but it will
Mm-hmm.
smoke. So
Yep.
when I took the fish out, it was at the earlier stages of melting because I just put it in like 5 minutes earlier. The vegetables. I'm like, man, that cedar plank sure is smoky, huh? Pretty crazy. Mom's like, yeah, but at least we didn't burn the house down. Well, anyway, 10 minutes later, when I'm supposed to take the vegetables out, I open the oven and a billow of just nasty plastic smoke just
Chemical smoke, the
erupts
good
out.
stuff. Yeah.
My wife is pregnant, so that was great, because what's better for an unborn baby than just plastic fumes? Needless to say, we took her to dinner, got the hell out of there, and everybody was safe. But like, it's never a dull moment when I go home. It's always some shit like that
So you didn't
happens.
eat any of that stuff you cooked up?
So that's the best part, right? So my mom, she turned 68 this week. I guess she grew up in a different era than you and me, bud,
Yeah,
which
and
we
happy
already knew.
birthday,
But
Miss Dugan.
yeah, happy birthday, mom. So that food is in the oven, right? Got the fish in there, got the steak, in there as well, just cooking even after I pan seared it. And I go, Mom, we can't eat this food. And of course, grew up in dirt poor North Carolina. She goes, "Oh, we certainly can. We can eat that food. That's fine." And I'm like, "Mom, are you kidding me? Like, we're not eating this freaking food." And it didn't quite hit her until I was like, "Mom, when I smoke meat on a smoker, what do you think happens? You have it in an enclosed space. The meat basically marinates in said smoke, and you get that flavor, and it ingrains itself into the meat. What the hell do you think that plastic fumes are doing right now to that meat?"
I thought we
And
had
then
like a smoker and oven situation with two different plastic. So all of your food got ruined by plastic?
all of it. Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
This is rough.
Pan seared the mahi mahi, pan seared the steak, threw that in the oven to cook evenly, had the
Gotcha.
veggies in there. It was all just ruined, dude. It was just a real thing. Nobody was mad though, because it was like a group effort where we all failed the group project.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
didn't I didn't ask if there was plastic. She didn't tell me. But it was cool. We went out to eat, had a great meal. But yeah, mom, next time tell me there's plastic underneath the pan, please, for the love of God. But it was cool.
Just don't
Next
try to
day,
force you to eat it. Yeah.
yeah,
I think
especially when my wife
that
is
was really the
pregnant,
tough part. I just thought we
you
had
know,
two separate. So I was like, oh, I'm like, that's fine. But I'm with you now.
I actively Googled, and apparently you can't eat that stuff. I wanted to make sure to disprove my mom, but yeah, it turns out not a good idea to eat stuff that's been in an oven with plastic. So, just so all the listeners know, now you know. Next day, me and my dad, we have a tradition like any other where when we get together, all we do is sit on the couch for 8 hours and watch sports, which blends itself perfectly with this podcast. So I'm ready to talk through all this stuff with a little bit of commentary from my dad that I'll drop, as we talk about it. But you know what? You mentioned it. Wimbledon, the final was today. We had Alcaraz, the young 20-year-old Spanish kid. We had Novak Djokovic, who's won 4 freaking Wimbledons in a row, which is insane. They were battling it out there on the turf, which I know you were excited to be watching, because I don't know if you were watching the golf more or if you were watching how that sweet, sweet grass looked.
The tennis or the grass. Yeah, you're such a golf
Yeah,
podcast guy
I
now that
know,
you just
dude.
called it golf, bro.
Whoopsies.
You see tennis now and you see golf. But I'm with
Look,
you.
at the end of the day, there was a lot of gentlemen's games being played today, and they were all on turf. Okay, that's all I'm
Yeah, but
saying.
I mean, to answer your question, yes and yes. The tennis was freaking unbelievable. But then, like, I really think about the fact that they're playing on grass, and that's just so sick.
It is,
Like,
dude.
that's just
But
so
like you
cool to me
mentioned
that
in the
they,
text, you were like, "What a sick flex," and it is. It's so much
yeah,
better than
it's
clay.
just such a cool freaking move. And I think the clay, like, I love watching that too because that's different. Like anything, but the hard courts, right? Like that's synthetic or whatever that is, and I'm kind of like, all right, yeah, like sure, of course, anybody. So to like actually maintain that and do that on the grass, and going back to my Phoenician days where I met Tyra Banks, right? They maintained a grass court at that resort, and it was
In
like
Arizona,
in
insane.
Arizona, and it was crazy that you could go there and like book like your Wimbledon experience at that 5-star resort, right? And play tennis in that way. So, um, yeah, first and foremost, shout out to the grass and the landscapers or the groundskeepers or whoever's keeping that together, because that's impressive that you're watching tennis and they're just playing it on grass and you don't even like it works.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
don't really understand it, but
beautiful.
you can see the stripes. It's just absolutely unbelievable. And then as for the tennis, when Alcaraz made a deep run a couple of years ago, maybe it's just a year ago, and I don't understand time anymore. He's just so athletic, dude. He's
So
just
crazy, dude.
so unfreaking believably athletic and like such a joy to watch. And I just really dig his style of tennis. I'm not like a tennis guy. I just kind of jump into a major when it's interesting to me. Um, but today was just awesome. If you like sports, like that was just awesome back and forth, full athleticism, two people at the top of their game going at it, and it was just great.
Yeah, dude, it was absolutely insane. I kept texting you, like, because we have our little text chain, and I just kept saying, like, dude, how is this guy pulling this off? And like verbally, me and Pops were watching it, and I swear I just kept yelling, like, how in the hell is he doing that? Because you would think Joker had him dead to rights, and like homie would like teleport and just get these sick angles where he hits it, with a backhand or just a sick forehand, and like it was absolutely insane. What was also awesome too is first little nugget from my dad is absolutely terrible with names, especially if they're foreign. And hearing my dad call Djokovic Josevic like over and
All
over and
day.
over again,
Yeah.
even after correcting him
Yeah.
millions of times, it didn't matter. My dad is just at that stage of life where he just does not care. That was also pretty sweet because he was just like, he was rooting for Alcaraz. He called him Alvarez like a million times, called him the young Spanish kid. I think he might have dropped like, hey, I hope this Mexican kid wins too, because that's what he does. But then the Josevic was also just, chef's kiss. Like, good job, Pops. Never change. He's the type of guy that back in the day we would watch Suns games and he would call Amari Stoudemire Amar, and he would call Barbosa Barbarossa. And it's just never changed. Like, it's
Yeah,
phenomenal.
it's tough to see, and honestly, it's not even worth correcting. You just got it's better to just kind of roll with it and just have your own inside joke with yourself.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is my dad is very hard of hearing. And when I do correct him, I think it's just like selective hearing. He just does not care. It's not, the message is not being received. So like
Well,
it was great though.
yeah, and in that situation, like he knows that you know who he's talking about. So he's
Yeah.
like, I'm getting the information across, so shut up. Like, I
Yeah.
don't need you to correct me. Like, you know who I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. I mean, it'd be cool if you knew his name, and I don't care about his name. Classic dad stuff, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, but the match was sweet. So I played tennis for 3 years in high school, and like, so I've always kind of followed it. Like, it's just a beautiful game, and like,
it is.
if you've never played, the amount of cardio that you need to be like good at tennis, like I never had that. Like, I cramp on the golf course, but
Well
like,
documented.
yeah. But dude, Alcaraz taking it to a different level. Like, there are so many like shots that you know Joker had that you're like, dude, there's no other person that could have like corralled that in and done the damage that he did. Like the one that I was texting you about where like he reached all the way across his body and just a sick return, like that was nuts. Then he had the one where he baited Joker in, coming up real close to the net and then just perfectly lobbed it over his head. I don't think people realize how freaking hard it is to do that, dude. Like pinpoint accuracy, it was insane. What a match. And it was just so back and forth until it wasn't. He won the last two sets, or was it two or three that he won in a row? But it was
Yeah, he like
beautiful.
broke to get to like 3-1, I want to say, in the final set there. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, like, I mean, if you watched and if you know, you know. If you don't know, it's exactly what you said. The array and skill level of the different types of shots he hit was ridiculous, right? I've casually
Yeah.
played tennis, like, played it in some element, played it in PE or whatever, then played a few times like as an adult or whatever. But
Yeah.
um, if you've even played at all, you'll have some idea of how ridiculous the shot making was. It was like just it's shot making. It's like watching some guy in the NBA who's like, damn, this guy can make every shot. Like it doesn't matter
Yeah.
where he is on this court, he's creating a shot that can win, and he's so impressive, and he's 20
Yeah,
years
dude.
old.
And yeah, he's only going to be better. And like, that's a sport too that like kind of has an aging like star class. Like
Big
Joker's
time.
not getting any younger, and he's just going to rule tennis for the next 15 years. It's going to be a treat to watch. What I did want to mention too was like, it wasn't just his insane reflexes or athleticism. That dude was so good serving the ball too. He had nine
Yep.
aces. Like, dude, in tennis, like I was always like my best attribute in tennis was my serve because I just have a lot of, long arms, whatever. I can get
Yep.
a lot of speed on the ball. But like to have nine in a single match, let alone the Wimbledon final, absolutely like killer instinct, hell of a player. It's going to be so much fun to watch that guy grow and develop because he's only going to get better too. There's really nobody out there that's like on his level.
Yeah, I think there's definitely an opportunity for him to seize it for quite some time. It would seem, right? There's no one that seems to be like nipping at him because it is sort of traditional, the old guard that you kind of mentioned, that are still sort of hanging around with Nadal, Joker, and then you still like, these other guys are still kind of hanging around. But yeah, I think you're right. I think he's going to have a chance at a really big run, and he's 20 years old, and it's like his third or fourth time playing on grass ever. They
Yeah,
were saying, like
insane,
at least
dude.
from like in a tournament level, I'm sure he's put in some practice
Practiced
work and
it,
what
and
have you.
yeah,
But that's no joke, man. And then one thing that was interesting too, and then I guess I always forget because I don't, I'm not religiously watching tennis, as I mentioned.
same.
I'll jump into the big, but it is hilarious, and and like I give credit to PFT commenter on this one for initially pointing it out in terms of making the tennis players do like a stand-up comedy routine after they're done, which like was his like whatever his tweet, his joke, blah blah blah. But truly, like the reality of them like standing there and then having to have them talk for as long as they do and answer all of those questions is such like a unique and weird experience. Like
Yeah,
Joker has to immediately go out there and be like, "Oh man, that was." Remember when you took away my dream today? God, that was
yeah.
so much fun, dude. I mean, oh, and you're young and your whole life's ahead of you. I'm so happy for you, man.
It's
So
such a weird
happy for you.
dichotomy in sports. You know what I mean? It's like that in
Yeah.
so many levels of sports. Like you see it a lot in golf, like when some, young and up and comer beats somebody like Tiger or beats, like Scheffler or whatever. And like the guy just has to sit there and wear it and be like, yeah, had the game of his life, had the round of his life. I didn't,
Yeah.
And the shitty thing was like Joker played really well. Like I truly do believe you put anybody else in front of him, like there's nobody that's that athletic as Alcaraz. So you're right, dude. Like putting these guys in front of a microphone 2 minutes after they lose a massive, massive tournament, which Wimbledon is like the biggest crown in tennis. So it'll never not be funny. But you know what? Shout out Joker. The guy won 4 in a row, like absolutely insane. And then making it to the final at his age. Just a really cool story. I mean, he's definitely one of the best to ever do it. He's up there with, Nadal, Federer. I mean, he's class. So speaking of Nadal really quick though, like what's in the water in Spain that they just be pumping out these really good tennis players, dude? Absolutely crazy.
I don't know, but I'm sure he absolutely took every, you know, bit of influence from him. I mean,
Oh,
there's
I'm
like,
sure.
there, like I haven't read that article, but I'm sure that's the case. And
Yeah.
actually, he mentioned even to Joker, like, oh, I've been watching you play since I was 0, basically, because that's pretty much
Yeah.
how young this kid is. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, man. But you're right. Spain's pumping him out.
Yeah. They pump out. I mean, they're just like an athletic. Like outside of the U.S., they might be one of the most athletic countries out there, dude. I mean, the tennis players that come out of there, the golfers, Sergio and all the other guys. They've got a great basketball team. The
Soccer.
soccer goes
Yeah.
without saying, right? Spain's kind of underrated in terms of just like athletic prowess internationally. So really cool tournament. I'll definitely be tuning into that kid's career. But I mentioned gentleman's game, right? A lot of stuff happening within the gentleman's sport this weekend, and part of it was the precursor to the British Open was the Scottish Open, and much to my chagrin, Roy McIlroy pulled it off.
So you should talk about that.
You want me to go off, dude?
Well,
Look,
here, do
I'm
you
not
want some
gonna
good
lie to
news
you.
before you go? Before you have to like do whatever dance you're gonna do? I think
Dance
this is
monkey
like the
dance.
worst thing that could have happened to Rory.
He got it
Like,
all out,
yeah, like why would you win this week? I'm like, what are you doing? Which, as well document, like, I mean, Rory only matters on this podcast because we now have made it matter, but like
We've made him a
I
meme. Yeah.
had I mean, I wish I would have texted to you because I was having another conversation with someone who I talked to about he'll hit me with the leaderboard all the time. And I'm like, he's gonna mess this up. He's gonna win this weekend. Watch. And then he's like, absolutely gonna have no chance in the Open, or like he'll flirt with it or whatever again. But like, there's just, dude, you don't win 2 golf tournaments like 2 weeks in a row very often. And Rory obviously is a good case of exactly why that doesn't happen. So like him winning now, there's no way, dude. He totally screwed himself. We wasted the
It's
good
what this guy
surprise on
does,
you.
though.
We wasted the
What
good
this guy
surprise on
does,
you.
dude. He saves his best moments for these. I don't want to call them little tournaments, but
Yeah.
definitely less significant than like the Opens, like the British Open or whatever. And then he just finishes just short on the big ones. And that's kind of my thing with him too, is just like this dude is carrying the torch and he really doesn't win a lot of major things. So but to his credit, the way he won was pretty epic. What did he finish with? Like 2 birdies to win it or something?
Yeah, he closed and I mean, I'm not going to sit here. This thing is playing overnight, so I'm seeing highlights.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever they're playing very early. There's probably
They're 8
sometimes where I'd
hours
be a
ahead.
sicko in that scenario, but yeah, not for the Scottish Open. I don't. That one's not near and dear to my heart. I'm kind of like, okay, it's a pretty good pool, and yeah, they're over there. But basically, I just kept looking at the leaderboard, being like, "Don't do it, Rory. Don't do it."
Yeah, but he did.
Couldn't help himself. Got to grab that check.
Yeah.
Hard to blame
Yeah.
him.
Hey, hard to blame him. Scheffler finished what I think in like the top 5. So he's probably going to come out swinging hard next week. And then, Patrick Cantlay didn't even make the cut. So, Cantley's probably going to have a hell of a run at the British Open.
We have a lot. I think the British, like if we're just going to kind of start to jump into that, I just think is I just have no idea who to take in the British. Like every time
Hmm.
in the Open, excuse me, the Open Championship. I don't know what happened. I could have sworn as a kid it was the British Open, and then at some point it was just the Open Championship. And I don't
I'm
know.
going to continue to call it the British
I
Open.
don't know if there was an actual change or if I've just always been wrong, and it's one of those things I'm misremembering. But I think it is the absolute hardest one to handicap. Like inherently there's going to be some European guys who play well that like I'm less familiar with that are going to be on the leaderboard
Yeah.
and littered around, and presumably they know how to play that type of golf, that style of golf very well. So you can never really put a number on that for me. And then, I mean, and then if we're really going to talk about it, then it ends up being the same names because I know Scheffler can putt and he played well at the
Yep.
Scottish. You know, Rory, you think should be a contender because that's where he's originally from and he's traditionally played pretty well over there. And then you're going to think about the guy who won it last year in Cam Smith. Colin Morikawa has proven he can win it over the last 5 years. So there's definitely like some of the traditional names, but man, I think the British Open or the Open is very hard to figure out.
Yeah, and Cam did just win the live event in London, so
There you
he
go.
is going to be very familiar with the course conditions. I hear it's uh, quite nice in London right now. It's not as hot as it is here in the U.S., so that is a good thing going for them. But you're right, dude. It's really really hard to like predict. I mean, we've talked about it before. Like golf events anyway are hard to predict,
They are.
but this one is even more so because like it is different course conditions. There's going to be some Euros that are just going to play inherently better. Now you have Cam Smith coming off a win, and we've seen just historically with him when he starts to get hot, he gets real hot. Scheffler is always dangerous, and I mean golf is just the one of the few sports where you can't count anybody out. So it's going to be interesting to see how it kind of rocks next weekend. But I'm not going to put any money on Rory, But you know what? Like you said, that is his home course. He is part of the United Kingdom, being from Northern Ireland. He's not Irish, so you're completely right.
Just gonna forever. You're like, whatever I can do to get this guy off my freaking lawn. Hey, pops, what do you think of this guy?
My dad doesn't like Rory either, so don't worry. He'll be the first to point out the whole Northern Ireland thing. My dad is a very proud Irish person, so that is where I get it from. That's probably where inherently my disdain for Rory McIlroy comes from, is from pops. So it's a genetic thing.
Quick
But
aside, are you really digging the 110 temps? I know you mentioned this. Like, are you feeling in the zone right now here in Tucson? Are you locked in?
let me tell you, dude, we went to Yuma this weekend and it was 117 degrees when we got there. And dude, I'm not gonna lie to you, like this El Nino weather, because I think that's what's going on, right? El Nino is this year, and
I guess.
the hot weather comes in later, monsoon season comes in later. Well, it's freaking here, dude. It is so hot.
It's
What
so
time
hot.
did you tee off this weekend? I guarantee it wasn't at 12, right?
No, so I played like a Saturday at no, I did play a Saturday at 3:30 and it actually worked out okay.
Oh, you dirty
So
dog, though.
yeah,
3:30
but
tea time on the
we
weekend.
we got I didn't want to do that any more than I did the 12 o'clock one, but we did it because as you know, some of our fellow workers were probably at an event the night before, didn't think they were going to
Yeah.
feel that frisky on a Saturday morning. Understood. So we went out Saturday afternoon, and honestly, it worked out. We ended up with cloud cover, but dude, it is so stupid hot right now, and I'm just like trying to put it into the podcast world that if we could get some rain, it would be really, really nice. I'm looking at the temperatures in Phoenix, though. That makes me feel a little better. I'm like a sicko. I'm just going like, hey, at least I left there.
Yeah.
Like that's 8 more degrees I just don't want in my life. Dude, it's hot,
Dude,
people, is what we're telling you. And if
I'm telling you right now, being in Yuma, I had the same kind of thought process as you, dude. Like, I was like, thank God I don't live here anymore. Cause like we would go out at night. Even like my parents have like a mini, fridge like in their Arizona room, which if y'all don't know an Arizona room, it's basically just a fenced off part of your porch. And you would go out there to get a water, and it was like 93 degrees at night. Like at freaking night, dude. Like when it's supposed to be cooled down.
yeah,
Nah, Yuma is literally like the first portal of hell. Like it is so hot there. So I'm perfectly fine living in Tucson with its 110-degree weather because it's at least 10 degrees cooler than Yuma or Phoenix. It's absolutely insane. But I'm with you, dude. I keep looking at the weather and it's like, oh, it's gonna rain. It's gonna rain. It's gonna rain. It's it's like that girl at the bar that just keeps
Oh
winking
yeah.
at you, and she
Oh
has
yeah.
no intentions of ever doing anything with you.
It's never
You
gonna
know,
rain, Dugan. Just accept it.
yeah,
But
I don't
hand
know
up,
what we
that's
need to
my bad
do.
on the weather talk. I know that's really good podcasting, but people, if you were here, you'd understand, man. We're like sweating at night, bad. It's bad, okay? It's really
Dude, I
bad.
legit was last night sweating
Yeah,
at
like it's really
night.
bad right now. It's really bad. So
I took a shower before bed, and I woke up and I was like, I need to take another shower, dude. I was sweating all night.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
ridiculous, dude. You could shower
I don't know
six
how
times a
people
day
do
right
it.
now. It's ridiculous.
It's it's wild, dude. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but since we were talking about Rory, and I know this is not your favorite thing to talk about, but with like the latest stuff that dropped with the live, I did want to get kind of your opinion on it. You know, with the rumor, I don't even know if you want to call it a rumor. I mean, ESPN put a full fledged report out there about it that him and Tiger were supposed to get their own live teams when the merger happened, and apparently Rory talked to somebody back all the way in like November from live about it. But his whole basis has been like when the whole merger was announced, he was like, I never was talked about this. This is just as shocking to me as it is to you. Like, what are some of your thoughts on that? Because for me, like, this just goes back to why I dislike Rory. Like, he's just kind of disingenuous.
So yeah, Rory doubled down this week as well, saying like he would retire as opposed to
Yeah.
playing live golf. I don't know, man. I think we have to have a conversation about what we're reading and reading comprehension. It's like we're in two different worlds.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any world where Rory and Tiger were going to have teams on live. There's no world where that's ever happening,
You
ever.
think that was just like kind of
I think
a distraction from everything going on?
I think no. I think there's legitimate conversations between the PGA Tour and the Live, and I think the Live gets to come like in any sort of agreement with a wish list. Here's things I'd
Mm-hmm.
like to have. I want Tiger Woods to be at all my son's birthday parties. I'd like him to have a Live Tour team. We think Rory would
Yeah.
have one too. Wouldn't that be cool? I'd like to be a member at Augusta. I'd like to do, dude, there's like 37 items on that list that are never going to happen and have nothing to do with anything other
Yeah.
than you always ask for more than what you're actually going to get. And this is what I
Yeah, I
keep
get
going
that.
back to is like, I'm not really moving off. Everything that I'm reading doesn't really have me to believe that the Live has really positioned themselves or outwitted anybody, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
They still have a lot of money and they're still absolutely in the conversation and there's still like a long way to go. But the idea that, like, yeah, ESPN, of course, runs this story because they're a bunch of schmucks. Schleybook runs it, and he's a freaking loser. We know that as a reporter. And, like, dude, I mean, ESPN
Yeah.
runs little garbage through anything. They cannot wait to plaster a headline on, and everybody who reads a headline is absolutely, oh man, I guess Tiger's like, I guess he's on live. I don't even know how to read. So,
Yeah.
like, that's kind of where I feel like it lands. But the reality is, like, I just think that was never going to happen. Like, of course, I mean, is Roy probably being slightly disingenuous about like he ever had a conversation or he never heard anything? I'm sure there's probably some sincerity and some surprise. I'm sure he heard some things. I'm sure he talked to some people. But like as
Yeah.
far as looking at that as like something that's actually reality or that would come to fruition, like that I balk at.
Yeah. I don't think I don't have any beef with the fact that he was mentioned as having a potential live team, because I'm with you. I think obviously like the live would love to have Tiger or Rory because just the amount of marketing and everything you can do with that.
Yeah.
My biggest beef, my biggest vitriol was just like, dude, like why are you saying that you've never talked to anybody? And it turns out you in fact may have been talking to somebody. Now, what I will give him and out on is like I'm sure that he probably was approached by Live because all of them were, right? And maybe that's all it was like, hey, like we'll give you a friggin' dump truck load of money if you have a team on Live. And maybe now it's just being skewed because you're right, like ESPN does do this. They did it with the Arizona Wildcats with the same reporter.
Yeah.
Um,
Names did look familiar.
yeah, that's who broke the story on the FBI shit
Yeah.
with Arizona. And he is a clown. He is terrible. So I'm not giving any validity to the rumor or the report. I just more so want to know, like, I would love to hear Rory talk about it before the British Open, like specific to that story. Like, hey, were you ever approached if there was a merger? Would you have a live team? or was it more so just like they reached out to you to try to pull you to the live? Because again, I don't think there was a golfer that's in the top 50 that wasn't approached. So I would just like some clarity on that, because if it was what it was written as, like, it's just another opportunity for Rory to come out as disingenuous, which is my ultimate beef with him. So
Yeah, which I mean, I get that. I just think like I think they're all in a very tough position. I think Rory's, dude. I'm telling you, I can't believe this is all I'm doing is defending Rory now. Like it's like whatever, but this has never been my particular intent or aim. But
yeah,
but
you're
but
not a
it's
Rory guy. I'll
I
give
know,
you
yeah,
that.
like I'm not here putting on like I don't have a Rory jersey, but um,
God, can you imagine if they make golf jerseys?
I
That'd be
know,
so
yeah.
sick.
But like they talk about, yeah, I was gonna say, but um, I just, dude, I think he's in a position where he's constantly being asked to comment. He's actually the one
Yeah.
commenting. And so if you're saying like, oh, we didn't have a conversation versus like him saying in another context where he means like we didn't have serious talks, which actually led to any of these things that you're actually reporting about. I just think there's a big disconnect in the way it's being reported and the way it's being looked at. I feel like Rory's kind of like in a corner that he's pretty much sticking to. Um, so I don't know. I think it's like we just have to let it all shake out now. I mean, I guess it's kind of
Hmm.
where I'm at, um, but like you said, it's man that if that girl at the bar was winking at him, I'm sure he had the conversation, but the conversation might have just simply been, no, dude, I'm not doing
Yeah.
that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like the girl that tries to get you to buy her a drink so she can just get a drink. She has no interest in you.
Yeah, you're like, I know that I've seen this one before. You got me on this last week. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, just to lighten the mood a little bit, there was a little bit more golf going on this weekend. You know, you mentioned it at the opening of the pod, but we did have some celebrity golf action go on this weekend with the American Century Championship, and Steph Curry, bro, not just sinking shots on the court. My man's out here sinking shots on the frickin' the the course. I mean, he came out balling, right? I mean, it was him and I think what's his name, Marty something. He's a former tennis player, so sticking with the tennis theme. But we had a whole bunch of different celebrities. We had Pat McAfee out there, who's always a hilarious time. Tony Romo, John Elway, David Wells. Which, by the way, this was the first time I saw David Wells since he was pitching for the freaking Boston Red Sox, and I've never felt older in my life because this man is just grayed out completely and like
Yeah.
lost all his weight and everything. And that was one of the things that I took away from watching this tournament was number one, some of these celebrities are actually like legit golfers. Like they're pretty damn good. I think Aaron Rodgers was like in the top five, which I've heard he was a good golfer, but like that was impressive. Annika Sorenstam was out there, U of A legend. She was out there playing a little bit of golf. But you know, my dad and I threw that on while channel surfing. Before that, we were watching NBA Summer League, and Bobby Jackson was coaching, I think, the Pelicans, and he's huge now. Like Bobby Jackson, the point guard for the Kings from
From the
like
Kings. Yeah.
'05.
Yeah.
Dude, he's a hoss now, bro. He's been hitting the buffet line hard, and going from that to the celeb like golf match, I was just like, dude, I am not young anymore. Like these guys that I grew up watching and like loving watching them play the game, like they are all out here fat and old. Like it was so wild, you know?
Yeah, that feels really familiar, man. Every time one of these, yeah, I don't even know where to start because I'm just feeling old always. I mean, every time someone retires or whatever, it's pretty, the kids of like,
The
right? Every
players that
kid
we
we're following and
watched.
recruiting now is the son of someone that
Yeah,
we already
dude.
done watched like their whole
Carlos
career.
Boozer's kid is the
Yeah,
number one recruit in the country.
Gilbert
Like,
Arenas kids probably eventually going to be offered by the University of Arizona. Like all these
he already
kids
was.
are coming. So it's all happening. But we're talking about Steph, right?
Yeah, dude.
We're just being
Baller.
old. But
Yeah, yeah.
Steph,
Just having a moment, geriatric moment there.
yeah, no, I know what. Where are we? Um, but the thing, and I'll tie this into because here's probably my version of because one of my favorite things that my dad likes to do at this point now is just send reels. Right, he'll just send me reels and whatever. And so he's figured this out. He's hacked the fucking Instagram code and he's like figured out how to send reels. So he'll send me these stones all the time of like and he's not a big NBA guy. He doesn't really watch the NBA. Like he definitely has like the old guy perception of it. It's like everybody travels, everybody, like all that
They're
stuff.
not physical
And
enough.
so
Yeah.
he'll always send me clips of like kids shooting from too far or whatever. Look what Steph did. Look what Steph did. Look what Steph did. So as soon as I found out about this hole in one, I immediately like found the video, sent it to my dad. I'm like, great. Now everybody's going to think they can hit a hole in one every time. And he's like, at least to his credit, has a sense of humor about what I'm talking about there. But dude, Steph just constantly being clutch and being awesome. He's just so freaking
Yeah.
fun and likable, dude. He's just like infectiously fun. Seems like just a genuine dude who is just literally that dude who I know whatever the game is, right? Like you don't want to play that guy in beer pong. You don't want to play
No,
that
hell
guy.
no.
Like, I mean, I could probably figure out tennis next week. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Just
he's
an
just
athlete.
so eye hand athletic. It's ridiculous.
Well, dude, it's like what you told me when we played against Noah and Isaiah. It's like, why would you expect anything different that these guys are
Yeah.
good at another sport? They're D1 athletes.
Yeah.
Well, Steph Curry's the best shooter of all time. So when you want to
Right.
talk about hand-eye coordination, like there's a reason he's out here sinking hole in ones, getting an eagle on 18 to win the whole tournament to beat Marty Fish. Like he's just that guy. And my dad and I were watching the tournament, and like he was playing really well. He had an incredible putt too. I don't know if you saw that video where
Yep.
took an insane angle and sunk it. But on today's round, he was a little bit more human. Like he chunked a few like, chips that were pretty close to the green. And I was like, hey, I've done that. I know what that feels like. But then he goes out there and freaking eagles on 18. So he's very, very good. He played a lot better in this tournament than he did in the match.
Sure.
Speaking of the match, by the way, like seeing Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes out there, that was kind of cool. But my dad made an all-time comment where we're watching them do an interview, like Travis Kelce and Mahomes, and my dad turns to me, he goes, "Do you know Patrick Mahomes is black?" I was like, "Yeah, Dad, I knew that." Like, what? He goes, "You'd never know he was black if you didn't see see his dad or anything." I'm like, "Dad, what are you talking about?"
I don't know.
And by the way, guys, like eventually we're gonna do a whole list of like just shit that Henny and I's dad say, because it's just golden. Like we're at the point where we're sending each other it now when we hear it. So
Yeah.
that was
And
one
it's
of the
really
gems.
just a list that I want to create so that I make sure that when I'm saying things older, I just like look down at it and at least like I'm not making the exact same comments. Like I want to come up with my new creative old guy comments of my own. I don't want to completely go down the same path. Like I want to have my own problems with technology and life changing and things moving fast. I don't want to repeat the same ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me tell you, when I'm sitting down watching the LPGA with Madeline in 30 years, I don't want to make the same comment my dad made today. Again, channel surfing, we're watching LPGA, and he looks at me and goes, "Man, them Oriental girls sure are good at golf, aren't they?" My dad, nobody's used Oriental since the 1950s. I don't know why you're using it
For
in
context, though,
2023.
you do not have the world's youngest father.
No, my dad is 85, people, so that's why the hits just keep coming, and they're going to continue to come until he's no longer with us, and I'm here for it. Like I love watching sports with my dad because he just consistently makes these comments. It's the best thing in the world.
You get to learn new words or old ones, or however you want to call it. That
words that are frowned upon. So,
yeah. It's always an interesting hang. It's always an interesting hang.
It's always a great hang. I love you, Dad, if you're watching this. I showed him this weekend how to watch us on YouTube. So just know Wayman Dugan's going to be watching the two of us on YouTube.
Tell him to start, dude, have him send me reels, bro.
By the way, when I first threw on the YouTube, he knew that we golfed with like football players. He goes, "Is that the football player you golfed with?" I'm like, "No, Dad, that's Penny. That's who you golfed with.
Yeah,
that's who you were with.
We've met." Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, Didn't recognize him at first, but yeah, I know. He saw the swing that you had. He's like, "That's the lefty we played with." I'm like, "Yeah,
No,
Dad, there you go."
that's funny though. He recognized the swing, but not my face.
Yeah, but if you ever wanted some cool points, my dad thought you were a football player for like half a second.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. That's happened to me a couple times where I thought people thought I was a kicker and stuff. I mean, I'll take it, dude.
yeah, small wins, right? But
We
he'll
had
be
that out on the
watching
golf
this on
course one
YouTube.
time too, remember?
Oh yeah,
We were like all Juve geared up and everybody was like, oh, yeah, you guys on the team? I'm like, maybe these guys, bro. Like, not me. I don't know. Yeah.
that happened actually when we were playing with Isaiah and Noah. I was getting my turkey sandwich because I needed sustenance. You left to go back to the cart, and the lady was like, "Oh, it's so hot out there. How are you playing so late?" And I was like, "Oh, we're actually playing with some U of A football players. They couldn't get out here till 12." And of course, this old guy standing behind me goes, "You're on the U of A football team?" I'm like, "No, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm 31. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
I was
not
like, you
on
the
a
right
football
tackle?
team."
Yeah.
So yeah, it does happen. But Pops thinks you're a U of A football player, so don't let him think any differently next
It's
time you
good. It
see
means
him.
the neck looks real thick on camera. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Take that to the
We'll
bank.
go with that. We'll
Yeah.
go with that.
Yeah.
They do say the camera adds 15 pounds, so you must just be looking jacked right now.
It's all, yeah,
You
all
know,
on the shoulders, thankfully. Good camera. Yeah.
yeah. But no, the celeb tournament, man, those are fun to watch. I really do enjoy watching those because, like I said, it's cool to see some of these celebrities that you just grew up watching, or are still watching, and like they're actually pretty ice cold at golf. I was watching them all do like the hole in one challenge because I think as you finish your round, you finish and then you go over to that hole in one challenge, a little par three, and some of those dudes are just dude, they're pretty pinpoint damn accurate. They were getting close to the pin on a few of those. Like Tony Romo was nice, John Elway was good, David Wells had a good shot, so it was cool, man.
Well, that's their Super Bowl, man. Once they're retired, the guys that really get into
Yeah,
golf, like that's what they're
yeah.
talking about and training for all year. They're like, we're hitting those like three pro-ams and it's a big deal. And dude, I get it, man. Like it's some certain days you gear up for that golf a little extra, but for better or
Dude,
worse.
even some of the current guys, I think Curry like he chunked a chip or something or missed a putt, and he really got like he was pissed.
Yeah.
It looked like Tiger out there, and even the commentators like, "You're gonna tell me he doesn't care about this tournament? Like it's a charity tournament that means nothing to his career, but these guys are just competitors, dude. It was cool.
He's the first active player to win, they said. So first guy who's
Yeah,
like still active in the league and then first African American too. So he
only the second NBA player too, because
so
Vinny Del
yeah, like
Negro
he
won
like
it. Yeah.
checked a bunch of boxes.
Mm-hmm.
His wife looks super stoked too. Like it looked no different, dude. It looked like she was courtside. It was the exact same vibe they always have. They're just like they are just good vibes to me. Like it is really hard to root against Steph. Like
I don't love his wife. His wife, she gives
she,
me
I get
she
that. I
gives me
get
the
that.
same vibes as Patrick Mahomes' wife, low key.
I get that too.
Which
But I also think there's like a thing, man, that they have a very particular role and
yeah,
like they have to do like the like I don't know. I kind of give them like a somewhat of a pass for not
yeah.
accepting exactly what that lifestyle is in some ways.
By the way, speaking of Patrick Mahomes' wife, I think her name's Brittany.
Yeah.
Did you watch the new Netflix series Quarterback?
No, I have not watched it. I have seen. I know what clip you're talking about though.
Well, I started it. I watched the first two episodes, and if you guys don't know, it's just they're following Marcus Mariota for some reason. They're following
It's
Kirk
available.
Cousins, which is the most vanilla content in the world, by the way. They really try to gas him up
Naturally.
with "you like that" part of history, which again, so vanilla. But then they have Patrick Mahomes, which was honestly kind of cool because like following that whole season where they end up winning the Super Bowl. But like Brittany's in it a lot, and she is everything you think she is. She is like I've never seen Patrick Mahomes look defeated because he constantly is winning on the field. He's a defeated man in his household. Let me tell you, he does not. He does not wear the pants, and I can relate to that a little bit for sure. So
I think we can all relate to that. I mean,
yeah, me a little bit more than you, I think, but
perhaps we all have our own battles, our own struggles. Who's to know what another man's walk is?
yeah, that's true. I think we all have a similar walk, but she's a lot, dude. I guess they've been together since like seventh grade, and she was a year older than him. He was going after her. And they showed pictures of him when he was in like junior high and high school, and he is very like dorky looking back then. Like, my God,
Yeah.
he's had quite the glow up. So congrats to Patty Mahomes, you know. Um, good luck on your marriage though, because that woman seems insufferable. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I mean,
um,
we could, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna take a road where I don't really bash players' wives too much, and I'll just let you do that one on your own.
hey, I'm
Yeah,
sure Rory's wife is a real gem too, so don't worry.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, I
um,
can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah. You know, we did talk about players that are now in the league that we were like watching their parents and we feel really old. The Suns did just sign Bol Bol, which he's been kind of like a social media darling for a few years anyway, because he's 7'2"
Internet
and
legend.
he operates like a shooting guard. I know you were pretty psyched the last couple weeks with the rumors that the Suns were going after him. What were your thoughts now that he's officially a Sun?
Love it, dude. I love adding Bol Bol. I just love everything about Bol Bol, man. I
The
just
vibes.
I loved Manute Bol as a kid. It was like the first he was
Yep.
the first like what? Like someone can be
Like
8'3",
unicorn.
you know, like he was
Yeah.
the first crazy tall guy. He had that weird shot. He could hit a
Hmm.
three, and you were like, dude, this guy's like absolute magic. Then, like, fast forward, yeah, we have Bol Bol. He's being recruited heavily by the University of Arizona. He's basically going to come to the University of Arizona. Enter Mark
Yeah.
Schlabach for the second time today. This guy's a real a-hole, buddy. He's ripping him through my life. But anyway, it's basically because of the FBI stuff, blah, blah, blah. Bol Bol doesn't
Sharif
come to
O'Neal and
Arizona.
him
He goes to
both were going to
Oregon.
come.
Yeah, yeah. And he
Just
goes
to
to Oregon, which is
confirm,
fine. But
you'd
but
like to call
basically,
Coach Neil
it's
mobile.
my interest is the same interest that everybody else has. If you've seen the highlights, if you've seen what this stuff looks like, that's what I'm signing up for. I want to see it. I don't know what it
Yeah.
actually translates to. I'm not here to tell you he's going to make an all-star team or even be the most pivotal bench player. He's just freaking awesome to watch, and I got to watch 82 regular season games. You better believe I want 15 minutes a night at least of Bol Bol just being weird out there, dude, just doing weird, freaky stuff.
He's our Victor Wembanyama, bro. Like he's
Yeah,
Victor Light. You know what I'm
suck it,
saying? Like he was.
Spurs. We're coming, baby.
I mean, you're right though. He is like third on the depth chart at the center position. Eubanks and Aiton are there ahead of us. This does make Aiton a little bit more tradable though, so watch out. Maybe we're starting Bobo game one. I'm here for it. I'll always remember him for that sick highlight he had while he was on the Magic against, I think it was like Atlanta, where he dribbles the ball up, goes behind his back, does a sick crossover, and like within 3 steps gets like half court, you know, and dunks it on a guy. Like, so sick. I don't
Yeah,
care about all the other crap where he's like stepping out of bounds, dropping the ball, turning it over. Like, that's workable, all right? You
yeah,
don't have a 7'2" guy doing stuff like this and not get excited.
bro. When you got 3 to 4 adults on the court at all times with him, though, too.
Yeah.
Like, then just put this weirdo out there and let's see what happens. And I mean, like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, I love this guy's game. He's like the wild card. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, I know there's a lot of just as many bad videos as there are good ones, but the good
Yeah.
ones are so freaking cool. And it's so like, I'm
Yeah.
just, dude, if you're gonna have a third center, it should be Bol Bol or JaVale
He should
McGee.
be fun. Yeah.
Like, right?
They
Yeah, like
have
it's
to be
JaVale
fun.
McGee, also hilariously athletic. Like, dude has a penchant for either doing the most hilarious possible play or the most optimal athletic play. And like either
Yeah.
way, everybody's winning, right? No matter who you are watching the game. So yeah, man, I just hope Bol Bol stays healthy. And then if he actually can because again, this is a guy, he's a supremely talented dude. Like
Hmm.
whatever this is and whether it actually plays out, I have still no idea. But he is a really talented dude, and to bring him on in a minimum with a talent that's going to be around him, I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you think about the perfect situation for him. Frank Vogel, kind of the big man whisperer anyway. I mean, turned Roy Hibbert into a 2-time All Star.
Still
And
unbelievable.
then, yeah, oh my God. The
I mean,
guy
that's
would rather play
unbelievable. That guy
video
couldn't
games.
even move. But
Yeah, that guy wanted to play video games instead of playing basketball. So if he can do it with him, I'm excited for Bobo. And the simple fact that, like, you have Kevin Durant on your team, who doesn't play center, but he's a 7 foot, I don't care what he says, 7 foot guy
Yep.
out there doing a lot of the things Bol Bol wants to do. So, have him as your third guy, let him develop, and who knows, maybe you find kind of an uncut gem that you can kind of mold into your own thing and have a really fun player off the bench.
Did you jump into the deep end with KD when he fought the entire internet uh, on offense versus defense and whether points matter in the NBA?
Yeah, what did he say? Offense wins championships, and then
Yeah.
Kendrick Perkins came out of nowhere, out of left field, and was like, "Oh, we know defense wins championships." And I think he dunked on Kendrick Perkins for like the 7th time since he retired. So,
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Dude,
That's what some of my favorite content is Kevin Durant just shitting on Kendrick Perkins, where like that one. What was this dude like 2 seasons ago, where Kendrick Perkins decided it was a good idea to try to jump in. And he's like, yeah, well, if Kevin Durant was so great, why didn't we win the championship back in like 2015 or 2014, whatever it was?
Yeah.
Katie's like, because our fantastic starting center averaged 4.5 points and 3 rebounds. Thanks, Perk.
Yeah, and he's like, big on you, champ, or whatever. He definitely gives him like one of those buddy pal type things too, I feel like. Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, this happens a lot. This is like my favorite part of Kevin Durant is the authenticity of Kevin Durant, that he will go at anybody. And the simple fact, the first thing he said on Threads was like, I made my first burner account, go find it.
Dude, he just
leans into it.
Yes, he leans into it. I mean, I love that. Yeah, like his other classic Twitter comment of just like someone telling him to like, hey, you need to calm down or whatever. And he's like, hey, man, I'm on a full 10 until I log off this thing. Like, you calm the fuck down or whatever. He basically was like, hey, when I'm on Twitter, I'm doing it like everybody else. He's like,
Dude,
we were just full
that
go.
is the thing, right? He is legit just like everybody else. Because like, I think some people, they were talking about Team USA this weekend too, right? Like going into whatever the FIBA World Cup or whatever is coming up. And like one dude made a comment like, oh, like we don't have enough experience on this roster. Like it's going to be like a couple years ago where we got 7th. And all he asked was like, well, who do you think is more talented than the US? And people were like flooding the mentions like Spain, France, Slovenia, blah, 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 right? Whatever. And his only comment was like, so again, you think those people are more talented than the US? Like just regular guy, Meanwhile, LeBron's out here just putting the wildest tweets himself. So,
which by the way, have we announced it yet?
What?
He's coming back.
Yeah,
LeBron's coming back.
Can you believe it, guys? Again.
Can you believe it?
He's wearing 23 again.
He's coming
back. He doesn't want to disrespect Bill Russell, so he's going to wear 23 again. I don't know what that means for Anthony Davis, but hey, any way that he can garner attention, homeboy's going to do it. Absolutely. He's the best PR marketing firm in the business.
KD is so much more interesting than LeBron for whatever that's worth. He just is. Like, he's just more interesting. Like, LeBron's a better player. There's no, like, I don't think that like that ship has sailed as well. But in terms of just my level of interest in guys that like I think I could even maybe hang out with. I mean, I'm sure I could hang out with LeBron. He actually seems like a genuine funny guy. Like when he's, I don't know, he's not reading his script or whatever. But like, I don't really know. Like
every day is Space Jam for him.
Yeah, he might be the one guy that actually gets a script from the league. Like he might actually, but like he doesn't even know if he has to follow it. They're like, no, you can do it however you want, but like mostly read the lines. I don't even know. I got lost in all of that. But then I was going to also just say that Katie and Devin Booker talking to each other on Instagram Live.
Oh my God.
Also,
most wholesome thing in the world.
Also, what a nice vibe. I mean, I'm just loving everything Katie's bringing to the table, dude. It's been absolutely
a pleasure.
So much fun to be a Suns fan since he showed up. And I know it doesn't guarantee a title. And, and yes, I love Mikal Bridges. Like, I think you have to say that as a Suns fan or they come at you. But like, dude, this has just been so much freaking fun, dude. Him and Book falling in love on Instagram stories together. This is great.
If anybody doesn't know what Henny's talking about, they were like
people are like, do you follow that? I'm like, yeah, I guess.
They were doing an Instagram Live, and Book, like, they are such a big brother, little brother thing. And it was hilarious because Book was like, hey, can we go to Europe next month? And what did he say? He's like, got to throw it on the calendar, big dog.
Like, have your people call my people, man. Yeah. See if we can get it cleared.
Yeah, it was wholesome. It was great. It was beautiful. And I echo what you said. It's just a really fun time to be a Suns fan. So awesome, dude. I think we covered the Bol Bol to the Suns. Well, the only thing I did want to mention though, and you brought it up on the text thread, we did trade campaign
Mhm.
to the Spurs for like three. I think what was it, dude? Like 3 second round picks, and then we did like a pick swap with Orlando as well.
Give a pick swap, and then move 2 second round picks just back and forth. Like I don't ever.
Yeah,
NBA deals are so weird.
yeah. It was this one was especially weird, but they finally got rid of campaign, which like him or love him, he did have some awesome moments with us, especially that finals run, that 29-point game where he filled in for an injured Chris Paul was just pivotal to us winning um, that alley oop by Ayton to win it over Zubac. Without his crazy game, like that doesn't even happen. So he was a pivotal part of kind of the rebuilding movement of the Suns. But truth be told, he has been pretty bad the last couple seasons since then. Didn't play a lot last year. Was invisible in the playoffs. They had an opportunity to get rid of him. Now they have a $6.5 million player exception that they can use along with those second round picks that they got from the trade to maybe get another player. But what this now means for the Suns, it's like who runs point guard? They don't have a traditional point guard in any sense. Shams put out that Bradley Beal is going to run the point, but Bradley Beal even said in his press conference, with the Suns was like, I don't think you really need a traditional point guard in an offense like this because we all are used to creating off the dribble, running an offense, blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of what you and I've been saying since the Bradley Beal trade is like, do we need to be so rigid in our traditionalist basketball mindset that you need an actual point guard? Well, the Suns are saying, hell no, no, we don't. Am I wrong in that?
No, and I don't think you have to look that far back in like NBA history to see how this makes sense. Steph Curry, as much as we talked about him and how sick he is, and you can call him a point guard if you want, he doesn't bring the ball up every single time. He doesn't always
No.
fully initiate the offense. So we know damn well. I mean, they were using Andre Iguodala to do that, right? They were using Draymond to
Draymond.
create. Like,
Yeah.
so they have enough creators on this team. I'm not one of those people who's freaked out about like they don't have a point guard. I'm open
No.
to the idea if you can find a good point guard out there to add him to the roster. I have no problem with that, right? Obviously, like we've talked about the TJ McConnell floats and some of that stuff, at least off camera. And do I
Mm-hmm.
love a TJ McConnell being added to this roster? Yeah, I do. But do I
Mm-hmm.
think they absolutely need to bend over backwards or do something crazy to get a point guard? No. And then, as you mentioned, with the trade exceptions and some of those items, it does it feels like to me, and I don't know, I'm interested to hear what you think, but it feels like to me like keeping at least one of those, if not both, in the back pocket to see how this roster actually looks in play, like seems like something that makes sense. Like maybe you find out you
Mm-hmm.
do want another guard, another ball handler. Maybe you find out you need another wing. I don't really know what that's going to look like. As I look at the roster, I just like it, but
Yeah.
um,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll see, right? We have to have it play out, and someone's not going to play as well as we'd hoped. So
Yeah, a few things on that, right? Like, not even look at the Warriors. Look at the team that just won the NBA championship with the Nuggets, right? Like, Jamal Murray's listed as a point guard, but is he a point guard?
yeah,
Not really. He's more of a combo guard, a shooting guard. And they have two of them now, and they have Eric Gordon coming off the bench to be that kind of third combo guard. Jokic brings up the ball more than anybody on that team. So I think the Suns see that and say, hey, well, we can do that with KD. We can do that with Bradley Beal. We can do that with Devin Booker. And then the second part of what you said, the trade exceptions, my preference would be that they keep it until the trade deadline. I don't know when
yep,
those
same,
expire, but I agree with your point, right? Like, see what the roster plays out as, see how the chemistry is on the court, see if it works. If they do need a floor general, well, now you have that in your back pocket, right? Like, you can try out Goodwin a little bit too because they're really impressed with him. But if it turns out that they need somebody a little bit more heady, like use that trade exception, throw Goodwin in a trade too, and go get like a decent starting point guard to at least orchestrate the offense. But in the meantime, I would like them to just go into the season with the roster that they have, especially now with Bol Bol, because I feel like it's very well balanced.
yep.
But if you ask me if that's what they're going to do, I don't think so. Like Matt Ishbia's on one right now where he's just on a quest to like do a move a week. And James Jones is more than willing to comply with that. So I could definitely see them making another move because that's just kind of what the trend has been. But I think it's smarter to hold on to it until the trade deadline and just let this play out.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Ishbia took the training wheels off James Jones and he just jumped right into the half pipe. Like he was like, yeah. Like, I mean, it has been full tilt since Ishbia showed up. But I'm with you. I kind of would like to just have him sit and wait. But I think like you, I also just have this instinct that like, dude, these guys haven't stopped. So like, why would they be patient now? You know, or why would they not spend or whatever?
He is the antithesis of Robert Sarver. Like, he is not afraid to make any move. He's not afraid to open the coin purse at any point in time. And for so long, we've been handcuffed, the last 20 years with any move. You're like, man, I would love to make that move, but the owner ain't going to do it. And this guy, dude, he's a free-flowing son of a bitch. He'll make any move that's necessary. So I would expect them to make another move. I don't know who that could be. I don't know who fits within those parameters of like a $6.5 million trade exception and some second round picks. But I will say too that a lot of these trades have been happening in the NBA, like have surprised me for how little some of these guys go for. So it could definitely happen. Maybe it is TJ McConnell, right? Maybe that $6.5 million trade exception and some second round picks, and I don't know, some kind of like floater on the team can pull that off. The Suns have done, by the way, a pretty good job of like recouping like some of the draft capital they've lost. They haven't done it with first round picks, but they've picked up just a boatload of second round picks, trading Todd to the Grizzlies for 3 of them, getting 3 in the Payne trade. And, they've definitely kind of replenished the chest, but I guarantee you that they're not going to keep those second round picks, not with this roster. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either. But I agree. I mean, they've done a nice job. They got a pile of second round picks. They're going to have first round picks. They're just going to always be on the lowest end of that totem pole. But that's like the reality of where they were going to be anyways. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, everybody keeps saying it's like, oh, the Suns are really confident and they're betting on. I'm like, yeah, you're betting on Devin Booker, Beasley, and like KD to win enough games to get you in the playoffs. I'm like, no shit. Like,
dude, you just dropped a Beasley. You're having Michael Beasley.
I called him Beasley. Yeah.
Yeah. It
could have been a Malik Beasley. It could have been a Michael Beasley. Fred Beasley.
Can we talk about that really quick though? Because when we traded for Michael Beasley back in like 2014, I thought we had the next guy, dude. I thought we were gonna untap that potential, baby. Never happened.
Oh man, dude, I've loved you so much for wanting that for him, but I don't think I was in on that one. I think I was off that one, but that's how I feel about Bol Bol right now. So like,
you definitely have the same vibes with Bol Bol.
Like, so I get where you're coming from, and I appreciate that like your heart was in it in that way. Like I wanted to believe a lot of things too. Richard Dumas is the first one of those for me.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, dude.
Like Richard Dumas was going to be so sick, and I mean, like, and I had no idea he had a coke problem. Like that wasn't common knowledge at my elementary school. So
I've had plenty of those, dude. I mean, I can think of even Archie Goodwin when we had him. I was like, this guy's gonna be sick. He was dunking on people, and
Goodwin made sense.
Summer
I was kind
of
with that. Yeah.
There's been plenty of them, dude. Believe me. I thought Dragon Bender was going to be the first unicorn we ever had, and he was not. So
why can't Tyler Ulis be a functional point guard in the NBA?
At 5'7". Yeah, the Suns have had plenty of these guys. The reason we're confident now is because we actually have a real team and a coach that can maybe unlock Bol Bol. So let's, cross them fingers and hope for the best.
Buckle up, Suns fans. It's going to be a long season on this podcast. Yeah. Because we're going to be getting attacked nonstop, no matter what the outcomes.
All right, and moving on to our last topic, because if we don't talk about this, Matt Hesse will come through our mentions and murder us. So the New York Jets are going to be on Hard Knocks. I'm specifically excited because the last time the Jets were on Hard Knocks, we got a lot of foot content from Rex Ryan, and that was just primo content. So I'm hoping that Aaron Rodgers is like weird ayahuasca trips. Have opened his mind to being awesome on Hard Knocks too. And then we also get some really good content at the QB room where maybe they make fun of old boy about loving moms, but we'll see what happens.
We've got to get something good out of this, right? With Rodgers and Wilson, And
Mm-hmm.
then just in general, right? I mean, someone will step up.
Sauce.
Yeah,
Sauce is there, dude.
because someone's gonna step up and like if Rodgers is not trying to take that shine, Wilson damn well shouldn't be trying to take that shine. And if he knows what's best for him, he will not try to take any shine and just like hide on
Yeah.
this thing. But someone will have to step up and take that. So I'm interested to see who shows up. Hard Knocks always rules. I mean, it just does. I mean,
Last year was great.
yeah,
The
and they're not
Lions one.
always perfect, right? Like sometimes they're better than others, but the first two episodes are always going to be amazing. Like, right, as soon as we
Yeah,
hear
the
the hit of the
training camp stuff.
pads, you know what I
Yep.
mean? We hear the whistles going. You hear someone screaming, "Let's go, get it moving, fella!" Like once all that's, but I'm already. But by the way, I'm already full sicko mode just watching like college football highlights on Twitter now. Like I'm just like.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, dude, that was a good. I mean, and just the feeling the crowd again, and I'm like, oh my god, we're about to get to college football again, which I can't. God, I can't freaking wait. But
Oh, I
um,
know.
yeah, I don't know, man. I'm curious. I just hope the Jets are really embarrassing. Honestly, that's what I mean. If I'm being honest, I hope they're really weird. You know, but
I need to look
we'll
at
see.
I need to look at the coaching staff besides Sala and see like who could be really fun because there's nothing better. I mean, the Rex Ryan stuff I already mentioned was great, but you remember when the Browns were on Hard Knocks and you have Bob Wiley, the really fat
Yeah.
offensive line coach, and every time he'd go, huh, his belly would shake. Like I need something like that. Like that was primo. You know,
Who was that head coach there too when they were there? Because that was all.
dude, I don't know.
That was when Hugh was there.
I can't remember.
I want to say
That's
that was
all I
when Hugh
remember from that
Jackson was there
season.
too, and he was also like. I want to say that was the exact same season, and it was like even obvious through Hard Knocks. You're like, this is like, I don't know if this guy's a good head football coach.
This ain't gonna work.
Yeah, I was like, we do a lot of like speculating and conjecture and a lot of guessing, right? Because like we don't sit in locker rooms and we didn't really play. But I'm like, I don't think this Hugh Jackson guy's going to work out, guys. Like, does
Yeah,
not look
but
good.
Bob Wiley was top tier Hard Knocks content, and then last year we had the ultimate coach. You know what I mean? In Detroit, like everything that dude said was just like I wanted to run through a freaking brick wall for that guy. So I don't know a lot about Robert Saleh, like his personality and stuff, but I think he probably has a little bit of the same like
I think so.
mantras and energies as Dan last year. So
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're in good hands there. I think we're going to get at least some good football guy stuff out of him.
yeah, but you mentioned earlier that you hope that Aaron Rodgers gets involved. He's a little bit on the LeBron train where he forces his way into kind of the topics of the day. So I think he's going to be very much in the atmosphere of like participation. You know what I mean? Like he's that kind of guy. I would expect some quality content from him.
I agree. I do think he often thinks he's the smartest person in the room, and he's the only person not smart enough to realize he might not be. And I think with enough cameras around, we'll eventually find that out.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, dude.
Probably
And you know
yeah.
what? We'll definitely be breaking down episode by episode when it releases. Do you know when it releases? It's probably like the first week of August or something, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's right
Usually,
there, like kind of mixed in with little prior to mixed in with preseason though. Well, because it's like
yeah, it might
during
be
preseason
like
because they have some of the games.
yeah, because I think training camp starts in like just a couple weeks, right? It's usually like end of July, beginning of August because they have preseason coming up and stuff. So it's bound to happen here soon. So we'll definitely be breaking that down week over week and giving us our thoughts or giving you our thoughts, whatever it is. Sorry, I'm still focused on Bob Wiley's like shaking belly, so can't get that out of my head now. So seductive, you know.
Hey, that was a big moment. I mean, everybody knows who Bob Wiley is, and it's just for that thing. It's just literally because when he says like his whole belly,
It raises up like
yeah, which is like
4 inches.
it's an incredible trick. I mean, that's
uh,
that's David Letterman's stupid human tricks, or hey, Kill Tony, you just bombed on this stand-up set. Can you blow this whistle or whatever? That's just good stuff, Bob.
I'm gonna do everything in my power to find the Bob Wiley video and put it in on this episode for YouTube. So if you guys have not been following the YouTube, number one, you're doing yourself a disservice. An 85-year-old man in Yuma, Arizona thought it was very, very nice and very, very well done. So, tune in, subscribe. But I will be throwing some videos on there of Bob Wiley's shaking belly. So tune in just for that, really. Replay the episode. So other than that, dude, was there anything else that happened this week you wanted to touch on?
No, man, I honestly think we hit all of it, right? I mean, unless you had some thoughts on NBA Summer League, I think we pretty much ran this towel dry.
Yeah, all I had was Bobby Jackson, and he is a fat man now. So go out and watch Bobby. Dude,
Bobby Jackson, you should subscribe to the YouTube so you can see Dugan's face. So when you see him in the street, you let him know.
I'm just saying, bro, he was a skinny dude in the NBA.
He was. I know exactly. This is shocking
skinny
news to me. Yeah, this is shocking to me.
He's a large man now. He is a hoss. He reminds me a lot of the guys from like Pawn Stars. Like that's how big he is now. Very shocking. I could not believe my eyes.
Pawn Stars big is such a good way of describing someone's size.
He is basically
how big is he? Like I don't know.
Now.
He's like Pawn Stars big.
Yeah, he's Chum Lee, bro. Like that is how big he is now. I'll throw it in the episode. Y'all can see it, so don't worry about it. Perfect. Man. Well, with that said, guys, follow us on all the socials. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on TikTok. Throw us on Threads, Instagram, Facebook, and follow the YouTube. Like you're missing out if you're not watching the videos. It's genuinely fun. So. With that said, I don't have any closing thoughts. Watch the British Open this week. Get ready for Hardknocks. And just enjoy a lot of the content that's going to be coming out. There was a hot rumor today that some Pac-12 realignment should be coming out by the end of the week. So I'm sure we'll cover that next week if it happens. So with that, guys, we bid you adieu and be safe and have fun. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Adieu.